Hey there, everybody. It's David Silverstein with Selling to the CIO. I hope everybody's survived the snowstorm, at least here in the Northeast. Got a little bit walloped here, but it's cleaned out and it's actually pretty outside actually. So I want to welcome one of my guests. We've actually made a little shift in this episode where we've actually are talking to what I consider a friend of the firm and a successful rep, Ethan Tran. How are you, Ethan?
Doing well, David. How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for joining us today. So, usually we interview, kind of tech leadership on the other side of the fence. I think I'm going to switch it up here a little bit and talk to a sales rep who's in the trenches, who's definitely had some success since I've known him for the last 2 years, and especially in this time of COVID. I've seen what Ethan does and how he goes to market and how he interacts with my team, and I have a lot of respect for him. So, thanks for all you do, Ethan, and I'm glad we can have the chance to talk and you can share some of your secrets.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, David.
Yeah, you got it. So Ethan, if you wouldn't mind, give a little bit of your background, and then we'll get into it.
Sure. Currently, I am the account executive for Rubrik for the Greater Philadelphia market. Spent some time at a couple of other local tech firms throughout my career. Spent some time in software sales as well. So kind of a combined resume of probably eight plus years in tech and software sales as a whole.
Awesome. And you went to Temple as well, right?
I'm a Temple grad.
Yeah, same here. So it's always good to see the Temple success. Temple made, Temple proud, right? So I appreciate that. So we'll get right into it. We're going to keep it, sales reps have short attention spans, so we like to keep these under 15 minutes. That's about the most we can take as a sales fix to keep our attention. So if you wouldn't mind just starting, share with us, what you've been doing in these last 10 months where, folks like us are used to being in front of the customers and we're kind of hampered, right? So we have to get creative, but I know you've had some success in getting new at bats and new customers and really grinding it out. And for the reps that are listening out there, would love to share some of your secret sauce, if you don't mind, and what you're doing in these times to have some success. So we would all appreciate, what you're doing these days.
David, that's a great question. And, this is definitely a special year for everyone. Very, very weird, but we're all coping and managing, right?
Yeah.
It's, at least for me, that there wasn't really a science to it. We all kind of get into one in the year, understanding what happened, really having to find a way to adapt. And I guess I would probably say my biggest success to get in front of net new customers and, still continuing to have these conversations is just taking a step back and really kind of understanding from their point of view. When COVID just hit, everybody, like all IT teams, leadership was scrambling to, get their teams and their business deployed to work from home. So that included buying a ton of laptops, endpoints, everything for this really mass shift from on-prem in the office every day to making sure everybody is equipped to work from home. And as a sales rep, I remember having conversations with just some colleagues saying, "Hey, what do we do now? Is this the right time to call in? Try to help where we can. Like, what's really the perspective now?" And the way I approached it was, for my current customers at the onset was, "Hey, I'm not here to provide any services or pitch to you or anything to that nature. What can I do to help your teams?" Right? And your teams are working probably 12 to 16-hour shifts on-prem on the site trying to deploy these laptops. So what can I do to help? Right? And a lot of the responses from my customers at the time were, "Hey, just do the little things to help my team out. Pick up lunch, pick up dinner, just anything that can help them while they're trying to make the shift for the business would go a long way." Right. And again, at that time, maybe these are just more so current customers I've already established relationships with.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the first week, I spent doing that. My engineer and I we, reach out to our current customers. What can we do to help out? What's kind of experience that they're going through, and just became really an addition to their team, right? So there was no selling done in the first week and a half, 2 weeks really, until that was all done, right? But that, again, from a current customer perspective, continue to build on that relationship, and I think that translated to different things.
You took off your sales rep hat and became a human, right? Which is hard to do for some people, right? And it's nice to hear you say that, because the technology leadership that I've talked to when this all started is, they didn't get a lot of that. It's, people were, I hate to use the term used car salesman, but you saw a lot of those folks jumping on the wagon like, oh, let me try to sell these guys. What can I sell them? What can I talk to them about? Versus just saying, like you did, how can I help? Right? Just something as simple as that, right? We all know this is a marathon, right? You can't always be selling, especially in a time where, there's just turmoil out in the world, right? And these people are trying to, like you said, shift to work at home. But just something as meaningful as what you just said, I'm sure went a long way with your customers, certainly your current customers. So that's a good story.
Yeah. I also try to, from a day-to-day perspective, I always still think of, like, if, we, even as sales reps, we get sold to every day as well. Every tech sales rep has anywhere between 3 to 5 recruiting LinkedIn requests, really with the same verbiage. Hey, I really impressed with your background, want 15 minutes to talk to you about a new opportunity. So in essence, everybody gets sold to somehow, some way. And I take that approach every day, knowing, okay, if I am a customer and I'm a buyer, I understand that this is just really part of the cycle, part of the sales cycle. What would get my attention? What would I appreciate? What would differentiate from the other people trying to sell to me? And for me, that kind of translated into just spending more time diving into people I want. Like, for example, if I'm trying to get into XYZ company or ABC company, just really trying to spend more time researching, understanding not only the company news, but really just the business itself and how it translates to 2020. How are they a financial company that's doing well or getting hit? Are they a hospital that's is really hemorrhaging money right now? Like, and based off of that, and just doing more specific research, get all my ducks in a row, then approach and do research and approach the right people with my value add. I think as sales reps, we get trained to alpha dollars or smile and dial until the day's end.
Yeah.
But I think we take a step back in 2020 and really understand what the customers need from a value added perspective, how it's going to help them out. As sales reps, we can't read the minds of everyone, and every person, every prospect likes to be approached a certain way, but we'll have a higher chance of being prepared before we enter that conversation. So I guess to close that loop there is, I do my best to try to come prepared when I make those dials to my customers. It's focused, it's referenceable as well, and I know if I'm on stage, I have 10 seconds to shine, knowing that, hey, like, our sales reps are getting more at bats now because the landlines are getting connected to the cell phones, and you need to be able to come with your value add, who you've worked with, how we've helped out these customers, and how I think I can help you out in this day and age.
Yeah, somebody who you weren't used to be able to get on the phone, like you just said, they're surprisingly picking up, and people are, reps are like, oh, wow, I didn't expect you to pick up. I was going to leave a message, right? And then you get them on the phone, and then, like you said, you have 10 seconds, right? To like, hey, oh man, I appreciate you picking up. I wasn't expecting it. And go into your pitch and try to, say something meaningful. So that's pretty funny that you said, because I've heard that a couple of times. And then, what I really appreciated what you said, and I hear, and I'm not surprised by your success now, just hearing what you're saying, because everything you're saying is really lining up with what I'm hearing from the leadership that I'm talking to, is that you're putting yourself in their shoes, right? in trying to figure out like, all right, what do they want to hear about? What's purposeful for them? What's going to make a difference? What's going to make an impact? And it really makes sense that now that I think about it and hear you talk, that's why you're having success in these pretty difficult times for some folks, right? So um, the being prepared, right, and doing your homework is the consistent things that I hear from these folks, that you get one chance, right, to make a first impression sometimes, and you happen to be with a company who's you know it's kind of a hot topic right now, right? So you're lucky that way too, because you're going to get some at bats just because of that. So, but you're doing it all the right way, Ethan. So I'm sure everybody lessons learned of how you're approaching the business. So making a little bit of a transition, like what do you see working these days to try to get the attention? Like, it's easier to get to your existing customers, obviously, but with anything as far as getting new at bats, what do you see, in this virtual world working as far as getting the attention of prospects?
That's a great question. I typically try to lean on references and networking as much as I can. While I'm doing research on a company, I'm going to try to find out who I'm connected to that contact I'm trying to reach out to. Who am I connected to? How am I connected? If they know each other personally or on a professional level, and that becomes part of my talking point with that customer or that prospect is, hey, I work with the ABC company. We were able to do, XYZ, reduce costs. Bob Smith was very happy what we delivered. And I don't know if you have the same challenges, Mr. Customer, but I like to kind of extrapolate and expand on, what I've been seeing in the market and how we've been able to help out, and, typically, and you're right, David, I mean, Rubrik has a great solution and story around ransomware remediation, protecting businesses' data from ransomware consumption. It is a hot topic, but just having the ability to reference sell and connect the dots is more of a warmer call for us sales reps, and it's easier conversation than trying to fly in blind into the conversation itself. So, reference selling, and also just continued networking. I know in this day and age, it's not that easy to, hey, let's go to happy hour, let's go to the ball game.
Yeah.
It's too far in between, and the customers are probably to the point where they've got enough virtual invites to anything and everything out there. But, I'm blessed to be part of a company that continues to drive that model and, provide networking events, even from a tech perspective, but also in a community, what you can do, like volunteer services, giving back, just being part of those different circles creates more of a networking lead outside of just, direct selling, if you will, but yeah, those two have been, just kind of thinking back to reflecting, have helped me get into just really net new prospects, net new customers, to have a conversation.
Yeah, man, just listening to you talk, Rubrik's lucky to have you, because you're a first class guy. You do everything the right way. I have a lot of respect for you, and you're relatively young in your career, not that young, but compared to me, unfortunately, you're young. So it's refreshing to see somebody like yourself really doing a lot of things the right way. And when I hear you talk, your textbook, not to say it's a bad thing, but you sound like you almost read a good book out there that I know of, and you sound like you're listening to what these folks that we're trying to get to are saying. And you're going, not always trying to sell them something, getting involved in the community to make meaningful connections different ways, all those little things that take time. And I think you're with a company that is going to allow you to marinate a little bit to take the time to do the right things, right? Not always trying to be selling these folks and upsetting them and pissing them off. So we're right up against it. Ethan, I know it went quick. I appreciate your time. I appreciate your insight. I appreciate everything you do, like you said, for the community. And I appreciate it's a pleasure working with you. So thanks a lot for joining the podcast, and thanks for your insight.
Likewise, David. Thank you so much.